It was supposed to be a simple haul, one of those long but routine night drives truckers tell themselves will be over before the sun rises. Dean Miller, 46, had been on the road for over 2 decades, a man who'd driven every stretch of highway from Texas to the Canadian border. But that night was different. The kind of night you don't talk about later, because deep down, you're afraid speaking it aloud might make it real again. The job came in last minute. A dispatcher he barely knew called him around 7 p.m, asking for a favor. A refrigerated trailer needed to be hauled through the back roads of New Mexico. Destination a meatpacking plant near the border. No questions. Good pay. Dean hesitated. He didn't like hauling perishables. Something about the way the guy on the other end lowered his voice made his skin crawl. But bills don't pay themselves. By 9 p.m, Dean was gripping the wheel of his Freightliner, headlights slicing through the desert dark. The highway was dead quiet, just the steady hum of tires on asphalt and the distant howl of coyotes. Dean sipped burnt coffee, his eyes struggling to stay sharp. That's when he saw him, a man standing on the side of the road, barely lit by the headlights. Mid-40s, tattered clothes, pale as a ghost. Dean's heart jumped. It wasn't unusual to see drifters out here, but something felt off. Instinct told him to keep going. But as he passed, the man locked eyes with him, deep, hollow eyes that seemed almost too aware, too knowing. Dean swallowed hard. "Don't be stupid," he muttered, forcing himself to focus on the road. Yet 10 miles later, a cold shiver ran down his spine. Standing there again, same man, same hollow stare, just ahead in the beams of his headlights. Dean slammed the brakes so hard his coffee spilled. What the hell? His chest heaved. No way that man got ahead of him. Not unless. Dean clenched the wheel, his knuckles bone white. By midnight, Dean was sweating despite the chill outside. He couldn't shake the feeling he was being watched. He tried turning up the radio, tried laughing at himself, but nothing worked. Somewhere around mile marker 212, a metallic clanking echoed from the trailer. Dean's breath caught. That wasn't normal. Refrigerated units made noise, sure, but not like that. Not like chains dragging or metal striking metal. His stomach twisted. He glanced at his side mirror, half expecting to see something, but there was only darkness. Dean debated pulling over, checking the load. "Just cattle," he muttered. That's what the guy said. Fresh beef. But why did it feel like something inside was moving, shifting? Another loud bang made him flinch. Dean's pulse hammered. God damn it! I should have never taken this load. Relief hit him like a wave when the flickering lights of an old gas station appeared on the horizon. Dean pulled in fast, tires crunching on gravel. He needed people around, even if it was just the night clerk. The station looked half abandoned, a relic from another era. Inside, a man, skinny, pale, stood behind the counter, staring. Dean cleared his throat. "Hey, you got coffee?" The guy nodded slowly, eyes never leaving Dean. "Hauling livestock?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Dean's brows furrowed. "Yeah, something like that." The clerk gave a tight, uneasy smile. "You might want to just leave it, whatever's back there. Some loads. You're not meant to deliver." Dean blinked. "What?" But the man just shook his head, backing away. Dean stood there, frozen, every instinct screaming that this was wrong. He turned and caught sight of the security monitor behind the counter. The camera feed showed Dean's truck and a shadowy figure standing beside the trailer. But when Dean whipped around, Nothing. No one there. Jesus Christ. Dean drove, faster now. The highway stretched endlessly, moonlight casting eerie glows on the sand. His heart pounded with every mile. Another bang from the trailer sent him reeling. And then, whispering, faint, almost carried by the wind, but he heard it. "Dean!" He screamed. "No! No! 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 This is bullshit!" He swerved, the rig almost tipping. Sweat poured down his face as he reached for the CB radio. "Anyone out there?" "This is Miller Freightliner heading south. Something's wrong. I need..." Static, only static. And then, a voice, slow, rasping. "Turn back, Dean." His throat went dry. "Who the hell is this?" No reply. Just the hum of the highway and that sickening metallic rattle from the trailer. Hours later, the plant lights finally appeared, a beacon of safety. Dean staggered out of the cab, trembling. A man approached, clipboard in hand. "You're late." Dean could barely speak. "What the hell is in that trailer?" The man gave him a strange look. Same as always. Dean motioned toward the back. "Open it." "You open it." The worker sighed, walked to the trailer, and with a groan of rusted metal, unlocked the doors. They creaked open slowly. Dean's stomach turned. The smell hit first. Sweet, rotten. Hanging inside weren't cattle. They were people. Pale, mutilated bodies swaying gently like grotesque meat hooks. Dean fell to his knees, gagging, eyes wide. No. Oh God. No. The man beside him smiled darkly. "You delivered, Miller. That's what matters." Dean scrambled back, breath shallow. "No. I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know." The man leaned in, his eyes dark voids. "But you do now. Dean doesn't drive anymore. Hell, Dean barely speaks. He sits in that same bar every night, nursing the same glass of whiskey, staring into space. People talk about the haunted trucker who saw something he shouldn't have, about that meatpacking plant long since burned down in a mysterious fire no one could explain. Sometimes late at night, Dean swears he sees that pale man in the corner of the bar, watching, waiting, and sometimes, just sometimes, he swears he hears chains rattling and that damned whisper. Dean. No one really knows what Dean delivered that night. Some say it was a cartel job. Others say it was something worse, something not of this world. But Dean knows. And that's why he never drives the night roads again. Because some loads, you're never meant to deliver. You know, every truck driver has a story they don't tell. One that sticks with them like the smell of diesel fuel on a cold night. For Frank Turner, a seasoned driver with 22 years on the road, that story began with a phone call he should have ignored. It was a cold Wednesday evening. Frank had just finished his last haul, parked his rig by the diner he always stopped at, Mary's Place, out near I-76. He was looking forward to his usual meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and black coffee. He wasn't 2 bites in when his phone rang. A number he didn't recognize flashed across the screen. He almost let it go. Almost. "Frank Turner?" the voice rasped. Male, deep, but something about it. Something was off. "I got a private run for you. Pays double. Immediate pickup." Frank wiped his hands, glancing out the diner's fogged window. Something about that voice made his skin itch. He should have said no. He knew it. But double pay. For a man with an ex-wife draining him dry and a daughter starting college, it was hard to turn down. "Where's the load?" Frank asked, his voice steady but his gut twisting. The man gave him a location. County Road 13, near the old cement plant. Abandoned for years. Frank froze. That place had stories. Folks talked about it. Strange lights, disappearances. But hell, truckers don't spook easy, right? Frank chuckled dryly, shaking his head. Yeah, all right. I'm on my way. The road out to the plant was darker than Frank remembered. No moon, no stars. Just the hum of his headlights cutting through the night. His hands gripped the steering wheel tighter the deeper he drove. The CB radio crackled once, then died. Damn thing, he muttered, slapping the radio. But deep down, he wasn't mad at the radio. He was mad at himself, for taking the job, for driving into the kind of night that felt wrong, real wrong. When he finally saw the silhouette of the cement plant, his stomach sank. The place was massive, old concrete towers looming like sentinels in the dark. A single truck trailer sat out front, no cab attached. And next to it, a man, tall, thin, pale as bone. Frank stepped out of his truck, breath fogging in the air. "You the one called me?" The man nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving Frank. "Loads in the trailer, no questions. Drop it off at mile marker 74, midnight sharp." Frank glanced at the trailer. No company logos, no markings, just rusted metal and silence. "What the hell's in there?" The man smiled then, a slow, wide grin that didn't reach his eyes. "Nothing you need to worry about, trucker." Frank hesitated. Everything in him screamed to walk away, but pride, money, and a little bit of plain stubbornness kept his boots planted. "Fine," Frank growled. "Let's load up." The ride to mile marker 74 felt longer than it should have. The night pressed in on Frank from all sides. Every shadow on the road seemed to twitch, stretch, or crawl. The trailer behind him groaned now and then, metal grinding like something was shifting inside. "Must be chains or some loose equipment," Frank muttered, trying to calm himself. But his voice sounded thin, hollow. Midway through, his headlights caught something. A figure on the side of the road. Frank's heart skipped. A woman. Long hair, pale face, barefoot. Staring. Just staring as he rumbled past. "What the—" Frank tapped the brakes, eyes flicking to the mirrors. She was gone. Vanished. No way she could have moved that fast. His mouth went dry, and for the first time in years, Frank felt real fear crawling up his spine. Then, the banging started. Inside the trailer, loud, metallic, desperate, like fists pounding. Frank swerved. "Jesus Christ!" he shouted, sweat breaking out on his brow. "What the hell's back there?" His mind raced. An animal, a person. No way he was hauling a live load. No damn way. Frank pulled up to mile marker 74 with his heart hammering against his ribs. There was no one waiting. Just the dark stretch of highway and the sound of his engine idling. He stepped out, breath shallow. "All right, you sons of bitches," he muttered. "I'm done. Someone better show their face." Nothing. No headlights. No sound. Just wind. Then he noticed the trailer door, slightly ajar. It hadn't been like that before. Had it? Frank's throat dried. Against every instinct, he grabbed his flashlight and walked toward the trailer. The metal creaked as the door swung open, revealing nothing but darkness inside. And then, a sound, a whisper, so faint he thought he imagined it. "Frank!" His legs locked. "Who's there?" he barked, the flashlight trembling in his grip. That's when he saw it. Scratches. Long, deep gouges on the inside walls of the trailer, like fingernails, fresh. Frank staggered back, bile rising in his throat. He turned, ready to run, and froze. The woman. She was there, standing by his truck, smiling wide, eyes black as coal. "You shouldn't have come, Frank," she whispered. Frank ran. He didn't care where, just away. He could hear her laughter, light and cold, echoing through the trees. He dove into his cab, slamming the door shut, fumbling for the keys. The engine roared to life, but the radio, it blared on by itself. A voice, his daughter's voice, came through. "Daddy, help me." Frank's blood ran cold. No, you're home, baby. You're safe." He screamed into the radio, but all he heard was sobbing. Lights exploded in his mirrors. Headlights, dozens of them, lining the road behind him. Old trucks, rusted, abandoned for decades. But their engines rumbled, their lights blinding. Frank floored it, tires screeching. He didn't stop, couldn't. Not until the sun broke the horizon and the lights behind him finally vanished. Frank made it back to town, but he was never the same. He told his story once, to a bartender too drunk to remember it the next day. His rig, found days later, empty. No trailer, no scratches, nothing. Just Frank, sitting in the cab, staring dead ahead. Eyes wide, hands still on the wheel. And that phone? The one that started it all? Never existed. No record, no caller, like it came from nowhere. Some say Frank's still out there, driving, trying to outrun whatever he picked up that night on County Road 13. But the worst part, sometimes, on the right night, you'll be driving and your radio crackles. You'll hear a voice, faint, scared. "Daddy, help me." And if you stop, God help you. Frank didn't sleep that night. Hell, he didn't sleep for days. Every time he shut his eyes, he'd see her, that pale woman, standing by his rig, her grin stretching wider. Impossible, inhuman. He sat at Mary's diner again, fingers trembling around his coffee cup. The waitress, Jolene, a woman who'd seen her fair share of broken truckers, gave him a concerned look. "Frank, honey, you all right? You look like you've seen a ghost." Frank gave a dry chuckle that caught in his throat. "Ghost'd be better, Jolene. Ghosts, they ain't real." Jolene frowned, setting down his plate. "They are out there, Frank. You've been driving these roads too long not to know. Some hauls ain't just steel and freight." Frank's hands clenched. "You ever hear anything about County Road 13? The old cement plant?" Jolene paled, and for the first time in years, Frank saw genuine fear in her eyes. You didn't go out there, did you?" she whispered. "Frank, no one hauls from there. Not anymore." Frank's voice was barely a breath. "Why?" Jolene leaned in, lowering her voice. "That plant? They say, during the 70s, a whole shift of workers vanished. Cement mixers ran dry. Bodies never found. Townsfolk stopped asking. They just let it rot. Anyone who's gone out there since, they don't come back right." Frank's fork clattered against the plate. "I made it back." Jolene shook her head slowly. "Did you, Frank? Did you really?" By the third night, Frank knew he was cursed. It wasn't just the nightmares. It was the damn truck. Parked outside his place, it groaned at night. The sound of chains tightening, metal screeching. Sometimes, it'd rock slightly, as if something was still inside. Frank drank more, a lot more, but no amount of whiskey burned away the memories, or the sound of his daughter's voice bleeding through the static on his old CB radio. "Daddy, please, I'm so cold." Every time, Frank would jolt upright, heart slamming against his chest. He called his daughter. She was fine, miles away, safe. But the voice, it was her. Same tone, same trembling cry. One night, drunk and desperate, Frank grabbed his pistol and staggered outside. "I know you're in there," he roared, aiming at the rig. "Come out! Show me what the hell you are!" Silence. Then, the sound of nails scraping metal, slowly, deliberately. Frank pulled the trigger once, twice. The bullets echoed into the night. But the sound didn't fade like normal. It lingered, twisted, until it sounded like laughter. Frank fell to his knees, breathing ragged. "God, help me!" The next day, Frank wasn't at the diner. He was at the county archives, a place he'd never set foot in before. Dusty shelves, old yellowed newspapers, a woman at the front desk who looked like she hadn't smiled since the Reagan years. "I need records," Frank rasped. "Anything on the cement plant? County Road 13. The woman stared, blinking slow. "That place? Why?" Frank's jaw clenched. "Just tell me." She sighed, pulling out microfilm reels. "That place is cursed, mister, back in the 72. The plant hired undocumented workers, cheap labor, a mix of folks, mostly poor, mostly invisible. One night, accident happens. Bad one. A collapse." Frank's breath caught. "The owner?" She continued. "Didn't call it in, said fixing the wall would cost too much. So, they left him, buried alive, poured concrete right over him. Never told nobody." Frank's eyes burned. "Jesus Christ," the woman nodded. "They say their souls never moved on, stuck in the concrete. Anyone hauls from there. They're carrying the dead." Frank staggered back. "What the hell did I do?" Frank couldn't ignore it anymore. He wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping. Every mile he drove, every truck stop, he saw them, pale faces in mirrors, shadows darting past. Every trucker nodded at him, like they knew. Then, one night, the CB lit up, even though it wasn't on. "Frank, mile marker 74, come back." It was the voice, that same damn voice. Frank's body moved on instinct. He didn't think. He drove, faster than he'd ever driven. By the time he hit mile marker 74, the night was bleeding into dawn. And there she was, the woman, the pale one, standing in the road, smiling. Frank slammed the brakes. "What do you want?" he screamed, stepping out. She pointed at the back of his rig. "You know what you have to do." Frank turned. The trailer door was open. Inside, shapes, dozens, faces, twisted in agony, reaching. Silent screams frozen in concrete. "You carried us, Frank," the woman whispered. "Finish it." Frank swallowed hard. "How?" She pointed to the ravine. "Drive it in. End it." Frank stared, then nodded. Without another word, he climbed back into the cab, floored the gas, and drove straight off the edge. The truck plunged, a screaming roar of metal and air, until it hit the bottom. The trailer exploded in a cloud of dust, concrete, and bone. Silence. They never found the truck. Never found Frank. Only thing the rescue crew found was the CB radio, lying on the ground at mile marker 74, still crackling. "Thank you, Daddy." And that was it. Jolene still tells the story at the diner, swears it's true. Every trucker passing through listens. Some laugh, some don't, but sometimes, just sometimes, when you're driving I-76 at night and you pass mile marker 74, you'll hear a woman's voice on your radio. "Driver, got a haul for you, and God help you if you answer." They always say the road changes a man. But there are roads, you see, ones they don't mark on any map, roads that change more than just the man. They change everything about him, right down to his soul. And this one started like any other night on the highway. Mitch Reynolds had been driving long hauls for 23 years, from coast to coast, rain or shine. A solid man in his late 40s, weathered skin, hands calloused from years gripping the wheel. He didn't scare easy. He'd seen fog roll in so thick you couldn't see your own headlights. Accidents so bad they looked like metal graves. Hell, once he'd pulled a dying man from a burning cab. But what happened that night? He'd never speak of it again. Not to anyone. It was supposed to be his last haul before Christmas. A simple overnight trip hauling auto parts through a rural backroad route in western Pennsylvania. The kind of job that pays triple because nobody wants it. Mitch didn't mind. He liked the solitude, the engine's low hum, the way the dark swallowed the world whole. There was something clean about it, simple. Until that night. The night was clear, the moon hanging low and yellow like an eye watching from above. Mitch lit a cigarette, cracked the window, and let the cold air wake him up. The two-lane highway stretched endlessly ahead, forests creeping in from both sides like the world was folding in on him. It was around 2:37 a.m. when he saw it, a figure standing on the shoulder. No hazards, no car, just standing there. Mitch's foot hovered over the brake. "What the hell?" he muttered. No one should have been out here. The nearest town was 30 miles back, and even that one little more than a gas station and a diner. He squinted. A woman, pale, long dark hair. She wasn't hitchhiking, wasn't flagging him down, just staring. Mitch felt a jolt of unease crawl up his spine. He slowed, not because he meant to, but because some primal instinct made him. The closer he got, the more he saw. She was barefoot, bare skin, in freezing cold. Her eyes, hollow, lost. No expression at all. "Jesus," Mitch hissed under his breath. Against every better judgment, he pulled the rig to a slow stop a few yards ahead of her. He glanced in his mirrors, but when he looked back, she was gone. Mitch's heart pounded. "I know what I saw," he muttered, forcing a nervous laugh that died in the stale air of the cab. Probably just tired. Hallucinating. Yeah. But the knot in his gut twisted tighter. He'd never hallucinated in his life, not in 23 years of driving endless highways in the dead of night. Reluctantly, he eased the truck back into gear and rolled forward. His eyes darted from mirror to mirror. Empty. Just the black night swallowing the road behind him. Yet, the cab felt heavier somehow. The air thicker. He cranked the radio, desperate for some noise. Old country songs crackled through weak speakers. Still, that cold, sinking feeling wouldn't leave. Miles passed, maybe 20. Then something hit him. A smell, faint, but there. Damp earth, like wet leaves rotting after rain. The scent was so out of place it made his skin crawl. He glanced at the passenger seat, and for one horrifying second, he swore. He swore. He saw dark hair, a shape, sitting, watching. With a trembling hand, he flicked on the cabin light. Empty. He stared at the seat until his vision blurred. No, you're losing it, Mitch. Get your shit together. But a sound followed. Faint, soft, like breathing. Coming from behind him, Mitch froze. There's nothing back there, he told himself. The sleeper cab was empty, just his worn-out mattress and a stained pillow that smelled like old cigarettes. And yet, there it was, soft, steady, human, breathing. He jerked the wheel, truck swerving slightly, forcing himself to glance back. Empty. Stop it. Just stop it, he growled, but his voice cracked, betraying him. He faced forward and nearly slammed the brakes. The woman was there, again, standing right in the middle of the road, pale as bone under the moonlight. Mitch swerved hard, tires screaming against asphalt, the trailer lurching wildly. The rig skidded, heart-stopping seconds of weightlessness, before he wrestled it back under control. When he looked, she was gone. Again. No trace. Not a footprint. Not a shadow. God help me, Mitch gasped, his hands trembling against the wheel. He forced himself to breathe, but it was useless. His lungs felt too tight, like the air was thinner here. Get me the hell off this road. He floored it. Headlights cut through the dark, mile markers blurred. But then, through the crackle of his CB radio, a voice, dry and brittle, whispered, "You should have stopped." The radio wasn't even on. Mitch's knuckles were white against the wheel. Every nerve screamed for him to stop, pull over, get out, do something. But his foot stayed pinned to the gas. That voice, dry as bone, whispering through the static, it wasn't possible. He yanked the CB power line clean out, tossing it down. "Not hearing that shit again," he mumbled, chest rising fast, breath shallow. But no matter how far he drove, no matter how hard the rig roared forward, the road stretched on, endless. Trees closed in tighter, clawing at the edges of his headlights. Then he saw it, a green road sign flickered past. White letters faded, rust eating the corners. "Welcome to Coldwater. Pop." 0 inch. He blinked hard. What the hell? Mitch didn't remember Coldwater. Didn't remember passing a single turn or fork. He grabbed for his GPS. The screen flickered, frozen. The map showed nothing but blank space. No roads, no towns. Just him, lost in the middle of nowhere. Panic gnawed at his chest. "How the hell am I off the grid?" he choked. That's when he realized his headlights were dimming, slowly, fading like dying candles. Mitch squinted into the dark, heart hammering. Every muscle screamed to stop the truck, but terror had him locked in. He gritted his teeth, sweat rolling cold down his back. Then, a voice, soft, close, too close. "You shouldn't have left me there, Mitch." His stomach turned. His real name. How? He whipped his head toward the passenger seat, and this time, she was there. The woman, hair wet, stringy, clinging to pale, bruised skin. Hollow black eyes locked on him, lips cracked open, splitting bloodless skin. Mitch let out a sound, not a word, something raw, broken. He slammed both feet on the brake. The truck jackknifed, trailer sliding sideways, tires screaming into the night. Everything shook. When the dust settled, she was gone. Chest heaving, Mitch sat frozen. No, this ain't real," he gasped. But deep down, somewhere cold and buried, he knew it was. "What do you want?" he shouted into the empty cab. The answer came in a whisper behind his ear. Icy cold, rotting sweet. "I just want a ride. Home." Mitch's hands shook so violently he could barely shift the rig back into gear. Every instinct told him to jump out, run. But where? There was only darkness. Trees, empty road. He slammed the door lock, like it mattered. "Think, Mitch, think," he growled, but his voice was barely a whisper. His mind raced. He knew enough about ghost stories, old wives' tales. Hell, half the truck stops had their own haunted highway legends. But this wasn't some bullshit tale. This was happening. He forced his eyes on the road and drove, slow now, like speed wouldn't save him anymore. The headlights barely lit 5 feet ahead. Then, in that dying yellow glow, there it was. A house, old, wooden, sagging under its own weight. No lights, no driveway, just sitting there, staring at him. Mitch hit the brakes. Nope. That wasn't there before. His throat went dry. That smell returned. Earth, rot, something wet and old. You ain't real. None of this is real. The CB crackled, even unplugged, and that same dead whisper coiled around him. Take me home, Mitch. We're here. It was insane. No sane man would go near that place. Yet, Mitch's legs moved. Door creaked open, cold air slapping him hard. He stumbled down, boots crunching gravel, eyes fixed on the house like he wasn't in control anymore. Every part of him screamed, "Run, you idiot!" But it was like being reeled in. The porch groaned beneath him. Wind whispered through the trees, but it wasn't wind. It was voices, faint, laughing, crying, begging. The door hung half open, blackness yawning wide. Mitch stood frozen, chest heaving. Then, from the shadows inside, that same pale face appeared. Hollow eyes, lips curling into a grin that wasn't human. "You brought me home," she hissed. Before he could scream, cold fingers wrapped around his wrist, tighter than steel. Mitch gasped, tried to pull back, but she yanked him hard, into the house. The door slammed shut. The night went silent. The door slammed so loud, Mitch's ears rang. Darkness swallowed him whole. He staggered backward, chest heaving, reaching out blindly. "Where the hell am I?" His voice echoed, but the space felt endless. Wrong. Like he wasn't in the house. Not anymore. A faint light flickered. Candlelight? No, it was her. Standing at the far end, skin like wax, hair dripping. Her eyes glinted in the dark, soulless pits staring right through him. "You left me there," she whispered, voice soft but slicing through the silence. Mitch shook his head violently. "No, I don't know you." But she stepped closer. The air grew colder with every word. "You passed me by. Cold night, December 97. I waited and waited." The words hit him like a gut punch. Mitch's mind reeled. December 97. He had driven this route once, a lifetime ago. A storm, a car in a ditch, a girl. He had seen her. But the rig was loaded, the roads icy. He told himself it was too dangerous to stop. "I thought you'd be fine. Someone else would come," he choked. She smiled. "No one came." The room began to change. Walls rotted, floorboards split. Mitch blinked and suddenly he was staring at a car, upside down, half buried in a frozen creek. A girl's hand pressed against the broken glass, dead eyes staring up. "It was you. Oh God, it was you!" Mitch sobbed, staggering back, hands trembling. He felt it now, the weight of it. All those years, pushing the memory down, pretending it didn't happen. The girl, or whatever was left of her, came closer. "You left me to die, Mitch. And now, we finished the ride." The floor cracked, the world tilting, and suddenly, Mitch was back behind the wheel. Truck roaring down the same cursed highway. Only this time, she was beside him, grinning. No matter how hard he pulled the wheel, stomped the brakes, the rig wouldn't stop, wouldn't slow. The road twisted, narrowed. Headlights caught the edges of a ravine. Mitch screamed, a raw, broken sound, as the rig hurtled forward, over the edge. Silence. They found the truck 2 days later, mangled at the bottom of Coldwater Ravine. Locals shook their heads. "That road's not even on the goddamn map," they whispered. Mitch was gone. Nobody. Just the wreck. And in the passenger seat, something worse. A soaked, mouldy photograph of a girl no one remembered. On the back, one line scrawled in shaky ink. "Thanks for the ride, Mitch.